When I first started living in my van, I began to lose track of who I was. It didn't happen all at once. It crept in slowly, almost imperceptibly, during the quiet moments between long drives. Disrupted routines, endless repairs, and the constant pressure to keep everything running smoothly. Piece by piece, I felt parts of myself gradually slipping away simply because I wasn't grounded. It wasn't the same kind of burnout that I experienced from my previous job. This was different. I felt adrift, like a balloon without a string flying away in the wind. The constant movement of van life left me feeling disconnected from myself in a way that I had never encountered before. That's when I realized one of the deepest challenges to this lifestyle. When nothing around you remains still, staying rooted is entirely up to you, and that's not always an easy thing to achieve. The truth is, I didn't overcome that disconnection by working harder, nor did I handle it by pretending everything was fine and that my problems didn't exist. I survived by slowing down, creating space, and building quiet, grounding rituals that helped me reconnect with myself. These rituals provided me with peace when everything else in my life felt uncertain. They became a sort of anchor in the storm of my life. Whether you call them routines, practices, or rituals, they are not just for van life. They are human and universal. Now, I adapt these practices to my nomadic lifestyle, but you can use them anywhere, because we all feel the same need to feel centered and present wherever we are. Today, I want to share 9 practices that have helped me stay grounded, creatively, mentally, and spiritually, in a life that often feels like you are in constant motion. These aren't just habits, they've become lifelines, sources of peace, clarity, and strength in a world that rarely slows down for us. And they helped me grow in ways that I never thought were possible. Let's dive in. Every morning, I make a point to carve out at least 30 minutes for a walk without any distractions. No phone, no music, no books, just movement, breath, and the ambient world around me. My walks don't have to be on a designated trail. Sometimes they take me through a quiet stretch of desert, a public park, or a gravel path tucked behind where I'm parked for the week. It was chilly out here last night, but this Colorado sun is really strong. I have to take this off. It's already warming up. It's better. Whenever I have the choice, I head for nature. There's just something special that comes with being surrounded by trees, rocks, or open sky that resets me in a way that I can't quite explain. The silence helps soften my thoughts instead of overwhelming them. I've discovered that walking in this manner, screen-free, aimless, and fully present, sets the tone for my entire day. It grounds me, reduces stress, and enhances my creativity. It's like a reset button for my mind and body. It allows me to start each day with a fresh perspective. This ritual became more challenging when I moved from California to Colorado. The cold mornings, frozen ground, and biting wind sharply contrasted with the soft coastal air I had gotten used to. I had to bundle up, and there were days I didn't feel like going out. But I persisted, and the principle still held true. Even with my breath fogging up the air and my hands tucked into my jacket, I always returned feeling more rooted. Now that spring's finally arrived, it's been much easier to go out on these walks. Initially, I thought that walking needed a purpose, something to fixate on or figure out. But I've realized that these walks are not about solving problems or reaching any kind of destination. They are about being present and connecting with myself and the world around me. This shift in mindset has made my walks more enjoyable and fulfilling. It has become one of the simplest ways to return to my center whenever I'm overwhelmed. And it's always right here, just waiting outside my door. I encourage you to give it a try sometime. Go take a walk. Leave your distractions behind and see how it can positively impact your day. Music has always been more than just sound to me. It's been a companion, a guide, and a constant presence throughout my life. Long before I picked up a camera or turned the key to my van, I was immersed in music education, learning theory, playing instruments, and exploring how sound shapes emotion. I've performed in big concert halls, packed football stadiums, and the quiet corners of my bedroom where often I was the only one listening. So it's no surprise that music has followed me into van life. It quickly became one of the rituals that I returned to most often whenever I needed grounding. And I'm not talking about background noise. I'm talking about intentional listening, choosing the right song and tone for the moment. There is a huge difference. Practicing that kind of deliberate attention to sound has made me more aware of how music influences my mood, energy, and mindset. Some mornings call for ambient instrumentals, slow or soft pieces that help me find focus while I write or study. Other times I'll put on jazz, soul, or even moody folk as I edit in the fading light. On long drives through wide open places, I lean on playlists that feel like the soundtrack to a film. Over time, I've curated playlists for different seasons of thought. One for deep creative work, one for quiet reflection, and one for a hard week on the road. Music has the power to transform my space completely. It can turn my van into a studio, a sanctuary, or a place to process grief. Intentional listening helps me feel grounded, but it also helps me feel here. It reconnects me to emotion, memory, and the present moment. It reminds me that I'm not just going through the motions and that I'm actually living. And I think that's something that we all crave. Music adds a sort of texture to our days. It colors the quiet mornings and shapes the unsure nights. It's one of the simplest, most effective ways that I stay connected to myself in a lifestyle that rarely stays still. I've included some of my favorite playlists in the description below. Maybe they'll be part of your rhythm or inspire you to create your own. And if you have a favorite song, I'd love to hear it. Let's keep the music going. I used to be a massive coffee drinker, like several cups before 9 a.m. kind of massive. When I was working in the Navy, this wasn't unusual. The military practically lives on caffeine and nicotine. It's wild. You'd see entire shifts fueled by energy drinks, dip, and black coffee thick enough to stain your soul. Coffee was a survival mechanism for me. It was something quick to jolt me into motion and mask the fatigue that I never really had time to process. But as I transitioned to van life, I realized that I no longer wanted to live in a constant state of overstimulation. I wanted real clarity, not just a quick fix of energy. The transition wasn't easy. I had to deal with withdrawal symptoms and cravings. I started to look for something that would be better and that would give me more sustained energy without the crash. That's when I discovered cacao. This isn't your average hot chocolate. This is raw, ceremonial grade cacao, a treasured plant medicine harvested in Mexico with a historical lineage of use that spans thousands of years. Ancient cultures revered it in sacred ceremonies to foster a deeper connection with spirit, purpose, and community. Cacao contains theobromine, a natural stimulant that's much gentler than caffeine. It doesn't spike your system, it opens you, slowly and steadily. I prepare it in the mornings with water and a little splash of maple syrup to soften the bite. The result is earthy, grounding, and honestly, kind of delicious. There's something deeply calming about the process. Making cacao is all about putting your intentions into it and taking a moment to be present while making it. This is the kind of cacao that I like to use, and this version actually comes from Peru. It comes in these small round shapes, and I like to boil water and drop these in. My preparation for this is pretty simple. I just drop 2 or 3 of these into a cup, depending on how strong I want it, and then I pour hot water and then mix it. I think it's important that you get one of these mixers so you can mix it throughout the drink. You can definitely drink cacao by itself, but I like to add a little bit of maple syrup to make it easier to drink. I still love the smell of coffee. I always will, but these days cacao gives me exactly what I need. It's constant, sustained energy that gets me through my day. This energy signature feels like clarity and a sense of calm that I've never gotten from caffeine. It's not a quick fix, it's a ritual. One that's more than just about preparing a drink. It's about taking a moment for myself and setting the tone and intentions for the day. It's a practice that gives me energy and roots me before I start moving. When you live in a van, constant movement becomes your default. Even when the wheels aren't turning, something is constantly changing. The weather, the light, the location, or even the energy around you. There's always some new input and always something pulling your attention outward. After a while, I realized that if you don't create stillness, you may never experience it. That's why I meditate. I started meditating back in 2020, during the peak of COVID-19. At the time, I was working in healthcare and everything felt overwhelming. Patients, protocols, burnout. There was a small room near the break area where during lunch I would step in, close the door, and give myself a quiet 10 to 20 minutes. That space became a lifeline. It was a refuge from the storm. It didn't solve everything, but it helped me reset and provided a pocket of calm during a time that was anything but peaceful. I began by using the Calm app, and the guidance was simple and powerful. Focus on a single anchor, usually your breath. As thoughts came to mind, I didn't force them or push them away. I simply noticed them and let them pass. A few years later, and meditation is still a big part of my life. Most days I sit for 20 minutes in the morning and then try to squeeze in another 20 minutes in the afternoon or evening. Sometimes I'll sit upright, other times I'll lay down with an eye mask. I often meditate with the ambient sounds of nature, like wind, rain, or birds, or use the soft audio provided by the Calm app when needed. Meditation is a versatile tool that can be tailored to your needs and preferences. It doesn't have to be spiritual unless you wish it to be. For some, it's about grounding. For others, it's a way to slow down after a stressful day. And that's perfectly fine. There's no single right way to meditate. You have the freedom to shape your meditation practice to fit your needs and suit you. For me, meditation has become a spiritual practice that clears my mind and reconnects me to something deeper. I achieve this by not forcing peace, but allowing space. Some days it feels profound. Other days, it feels like a necessary thing that I have to do for myself. Regardless, I always emerge from meditation with more clarity and a steadier mindset. I no longer rush to return to my day, whether to create, work, or move forward. I am grounded. If you're experiencing a season of stress or your thoughts and feelings feel scattered, a few quiet minutes can make a world of difference. Presence is where stillness begins and your journey to a calmer, more centered self can start. Journaling, like meditation, is one of those practices that I've never regretted. It always offers something valuable in return, even if my writing feels clumsy or unclear. I think it provides a kind of internal permanence in a lifestyle that rarely stays still. I usually like to journal right after I meditate. This sequence feels natural to me because meditation clears the air. It creates a calm and focused mind, while journaling helps me shape what remains into something tangible. It's where I process what's rising within me, without the need to edit, explain, or polish it. Often, I just set a timer for 10 minutes and start writing. This loose structure allows me to explore whatever's present without overthinking it. There is no pressure for an ideal outcome. On some days, it's a to-do list or a stream of thoughts that I can't shake. Other times, it might be a memory, a question, intention, or simply the light falling on my dashboard. But there's power in that kind of simplicity. Journaling allows me to be unfinished and confused in a world that constantly demands progress, clarity, and resolution. It lets me be okay with where I am without having to turn it into something else. The journals remind me that growth isn't always visible in the short term. Sometimes it only becomes apparent when I look back to see how events turned out, or how the things that I used to fear no longer bother me anymore. If you've never tried journaling, I encourage you to try it. You don't need a perfect notebook or poetic thoughts, just a willingness to meet yourself where you are. It's a simple practice, but it has the power to transform how you navigate the world. This may sound unconventional, but I enjoy the practice of grounding. Whenever I feel overwhelmed or disconnected, I take off my shoes, step outside, and put my bare feet on the ground. It's a simple way to remind myself that I'm fully present. It might seem too simple and straightforward to make a difference, but that's part of its power. It makes it easy and accessible to return to. You don't need any special gear or have to wait for the perfect moment. You just take off your shoes and start walking on the ground. I try to do this daily whenever the weather allows. Spring and summer are my favorite seasons. For me, the ideal amount of time is about 10 minutes. Of course, you have to be mindful. Not every spot is safe for grounding. I always check for sharp objects, like thorns, broken glass, or hidden rocks. Ideally, I prefer standing in a patch of grass, but I've also grounded on red desert soil, sandy beaches, and rocky overlooks. It depends on your surroundings and your comfort level. Just stay aware and choose wisely. The key is contact. No socks, no shoes, just you and the bare earth. This practice helps pull me out of my head and back into my body. It calms my nervous system and quiets the mental noise. It reminds me that I'm part of something much bigger than the passing thoughts or stress that I might be carrying. I turn to books when I need a break from the outside world or if my mind is racing. I think it's so cool to flip through real pages and feel the weight of a story in my hands. But space is a luxury on the road, and that's where audiobooks come in. They fill the long drives and quiet afternoons with new ideas, fresh voices, and companionship on those endless miles. Reading physical books helps ground me. I like to curl up in my bed inside the van while I read. This allows me to slow down and engages and comforts me in a relaxing way. On the other hand, audiobooks are like trusted travel companions when I'm driving solo. They fill the quiet moments between destinations. I think that they add depth and meaning to what otherwise might be forgettable miles. This gives me a new perspective, and it's like having a friend along with you for the journey. During school, I made it a goal to read at least one book per month, and now that I have more time this summer, I'm planning to double that. I keep my physical book collection minimal, usually just 2 or 3 books at a time. Right now, I'm reading Rest, which explores the fascinating phenomenon of increasing your efficiency without ignoring the rest that your body needs. Books like The Hobbit transport me back to my childhood, especially on rainy days when I crave a touch of magic. For audiobooks, I lean toward nonfiction. The Omnivore's Dilemma opened my eyes to the intricacies of our food system. Folks, This Ain't Normal challenged my views on modern life and sustainability. I use both formats to stay connected to curiosity, connection, and growth. Physical books help slow me down, while audiobooks help me multitask and go about my day while I do chores or drive on the road. The combination between the two has enriched my life and broadened my perspectives. Let me know what you're reading or listening to. I'm always looking for more stories to take on the road. One thing that nobody tells you about van life is how much tension your body holds. All of the quiet and invisible micro bumps that jostle you around while you're driving in your van. This all can add up until you wake up one morning and you realize you can't move your back or get up without wincing in pain. This happened to me, and I needed something simple, small, and practical that I could fit under my bed. That's when I found the chirp wheel. It's a small, simple, and effective solution. It gets really deep and it's intense, but in a good way. I incorporate this practice into my daily routine. If you don't create space to release the tension that your body is holding, it will store that tension until it becomes too painful for your body to ignore. This practice helps me manage my chronic back pain. If you're curious about how I use this chirp wheel to manage my back pain, I filmed an entire video. I'll link it in the description below. It doesn't take much to make your back feel better. Just a few minutes of rolling and a little bit of consistency every day. Because if your body is the vehicle carrying you through your journey, care isn't optional. If you have pain preventing you doing the daily activities that you enjoy, you have to start being able to do something about it. Now, there are those days where the best thing to do isn't sitting quietly and sipping cacao. Instead, it's by lifting heavy weights, hitting the trails and hiking until my legs are on fire. Now, I don't do this every day, but I feel more like myself when I do. I'll be honest, I was so busy during the school semester that I couldn't be as active as I would have liked. I found myself trapped behind a desk studying and doing work. But even if you do something as simple as a 30-minute walk, that helps. I was able to keep that up despite how busy my schedule was as a full-time student and creative. And now that I have more time, I can't wait to increase my activity levels. Sometimes the quickest way back to clarity is through physical movement. Some days I like to be out here and hike in the mountains. Other days I find a Planet Fitness or go to my school gym, pop in some headphones and lift weights. I also love yoga. It's easy to do anywhere, and all you need is a mat for a full body workout. If you're interested in how I stay active on the road, I'd love to explore that in a future video. Let me know down in the comments if you're interested. No matter how you choose to move, I think it's all good as long as you're doing something active. In an unstructured lifestyle, movement is a way to honor and value both your body and your mind. These 9 rituals didn't come about for me all at once. They weren't born from a perfectly crafted plan. They were part of a larger discovery. These practices emerged from a place that we've all experienced, stemming from prolonged discomfort, burnout, and the need to reconnect with ourselves. Van life stripped away distractions. It revealed what I had been neglecting. I discovered simple practices that anchored me down when everything else felt chaotic and uncertain. Some days it was a walk, other days it was music. Sometimes it was silence, sweat, or stepping outside barefoot to remember where I was. None of them are about perfection. They are about remembering and returning. This choice is available to you as well. Start small, start messy, start wherever you are. You don't need to live in a van to reclaim your center. You just need one small ritual to make you feel more like yourself. This could be a morning meditation, a daily journal session, or a simple walk in nature. Thank you for being here. Take care of your body, protect your peace, and don't forget to come home to yourself, wherever the road may lead. Now I want to hear from you. What is one thing that you like to do daily that has helped you? Let me know down in the comments below and I'll engage with you there. I would love to see what you're doing. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button and consider subscribing to my channel for more van life, travel, and outdoor content. And before you go, you should check out this next video right here to see why van life is still worth it, even after all the challenges I've had. I'll see you over there.